Hashtag explain a film plot badly. A billionaire devotes his fortune to cosplay and beating up the mentally ill.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I will be reviewing The Dark Knight. This movie was incredible, and like I said in my last review, I have seen this movie many times. There are so many good things about this movie, but I will only point out the highlights of the movie, and there is only one tiny negative, but it won't affect their overall rating. I have to point out the best part of this movie, and that is the Joker. This portrayal of the Joker is the best I've ever seen, and I don't think anybody else will ever come close to this level of acting besides Joaquin Phoenix. Now, I'm only saying this the best portrayal of the Joker in live action. He was such a threat in this movie, and was always one step ahead of everyone. And even in the end, when it seemed like he had finally lost, he still somehow won. I think they perfectly encapsulated the fact that the Joker really doesn't care for anyone or anything, and he just wants to see the world burn. There are so many memorable quotes from this movie, especially from the Joker, that will always be referenced and understood. One of the most memorable quotes from this movie, I feel like, is "Why so serious?" Nowadays it's kind of cringe because it's always associated with cringe people, but I think it's still a pretty good line. I also really like this scene with the Joker and Batman when Batman was interrogating him. It was just perfect because even though Batman had the upper hand physically, the Joker just didn't care, and he still seemed like a big threat, even though he was locked in a room with Batman. Just the tension rising alone is really well done in this scene because you know the Joker is up to something, but you don't know what exactly. It was great too because even when Batman was beating up the Joker, he was laughing and thinking that this was all just a game. I also find some of the Joker scenes pretty satisfying. So at the beginning of the movie, all of these mobsters were thinking that this guy was crazy and was just another dude who thought he was better than everyone else, and then somehow the Joker scares them in the end. The other thing that accompanies the Joker is the soundtrack. And I gotta say, every time the Joker is on screen, they play the same song, and it's the riser in this song that makes it so good, because it immediately adds tension to the movie. The way I see it, a riser in a song basically makes you anticipate the end of that riser. Every time the Joker is either nearby or is in a scene, you immediately hear this song, and it just adds so much to the movie and the scene as well. For instance, one of the best action scenes of this movie was around the middle of it, and the police were transferring Harvey Dent to a prison, and suddenly, as you see the police driving, you hear the risers starting to come in. So then you know, okay, the Joker's nearby and obviously he has a plan. I think I've talked about the Joker enough, so let's talk about the action. The action in this movie is insane, again, especially with the Joker. I just mentioned in the last couple of minutes about the scene where Harvey Dent was being transferred. In this scene there is a huge convoy, and it has a bunch of police cars, and the Joker wants to get Harvey Dent. The plan was set up so well it seemed like they had so many contingency plans that there was no possible way this could have failed for the Joker, and even when it did seem like he failed, he was still succeeding, which again is just insane for this movie. I really liked the part where the police vehicle was under the main street, and the Joker was shooting at the truck and using rocket launchers, and just trying everything he can to either bust open the vehicle or destroy it altogether. The best part of the entire scene was when basically the Joker was inside of an 18-wheeler and was playing chicken with Batman. Obviously Batman wins this game of chicken by basically pulling a Fast and the Furious and going under the truck and under the trailer, and tethers the trailer to street lamps, and then the truck flips over. The best part about this was the fact that they actually did use an 18-wheeler and flipped it behind the scenes, so a lot of these action scenes were actually practical and not computer generated, which makes these scenes even better. I just love the fact that in this movie, that it's very grounded, and yet some of the most outrageous stuff that they do in this movie actually seems like it could be done in real life. I just love it when movies take it to the next level and still somehow make it feel realistic. I also liked how they utilized the Batmobile. I don't know if this is a controversial statement, but this is one of my favorite versions of the Batmobile because it's so cool. The way they utilized the Batmobile was when the Batmobile was practically destroyed, it was able to turn into the Batbike. Like, who would have thought that the Batbike was basically a part of the original Batmobile? And I can't believe that they thought of something like that, and it's just so cool. I also like the fact that they showed Batman upgrading his suit, and giving a good reason as to why he should have done that. I would say that this is one of my favorite Batman designs, because it looks very militarized and modern and not too comic booky. This to me feels like the most iconic Batman outfit because I see it the most. Anyways, I really like that they showed Batman upgrading the outfit and adding some practicality to it, because before he wasn't able to turn his head, so he'd have to turn his entire body. But now he can just turn his head, which makes the Batsuit so much more practical. I also really liked Harvey Dent in this movie. And unlike the last movie with Scarecrow, I feel like they properly utilized this secondary villain in this movie. I really like this version because they didn't really rush to get into this villain, and he was well introduced with only 1 hour left of the movie, and they still did his character justice. I like the whole premise of the story for Two-Face, because you can kind of see where he was coming from. The love of his life being murdered, and him thinking that he was going to be the one to die, and she'd be the one to survive, can actually do some damage to somebody's well-being, as well as mental health. I also really like the fact how he uses the coin to make decisions, and I know that's part of Two-Face's persona, but I feel like it was really well done in this movie. I also like to mention the CGI done to his face was really well done, especially for 2008. It almost makes you wonder why the CGI in current superhero movies are not as good. So I talked about all the great stuff about this movie, but I wanted to mention one minor detail that I really don't like seeing in any movie. What I'm talking about is changing an actor or actress in the middle of a film series. So there was this character from Batman Begins, and her name was Rachel, and her and Bruce Wayne had a very complicated relationship, and she's also in this movie as well. The one problem I have with this is the fact that these are two different actresses. In Batman Begins, it was Katie Holmes, and in this one, it was Maggie Gyllenhaal. They both did a great job, but I just didn't like the fact that they had to change the actress. Now, there may have been some behind-the-scenes drama that may have contributed to this casting change, but I just don't like it. So what would I rate The Dark Knight? Well, I already think you know what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say that this movie was a 10 out of 10. This movie is incredible, and it's very rare to see a superhero movie this well done. There are many great superhero movies, but there's just something different about this one because everybody seems to know the character of Joker, and specifically the fact that he was played so well by Heath Ledger. It's really unfortunate that he had to pass away, because I feel like he would have had an incredible career. Again, this movie was fantastic, and I really wish superhero movies were still just as good as they were back in the day. Thank you all so much for watching this review, and in the next review, I will be reviewing The Dark Knight Rises.